Are you ready for this? This one's got some global implications. We're going to unpack this whole Ngannou versus Ferreira fight for the PFL Heavyweight Championship.
Yeah.
This is way more than just some guys in a cage.
Way more, yeah.
We've got this really cool Al Jazeera article. It lays it all out, tells us about the fighters, the backstory, even what's going on in the undercard.
This is really interesting, you know?
Yeah.
What makes this fight so interesting is that, you know, it's not just about who takes the belt. It's about two totally different paths, two different journeys kind of coming together.
Yeah.
You know, you got Ngannou coming back to MMA after facing those, you know, boxing...
Titans.
Yeah.
Fury and Joshua.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And then you got Ferreira. He's the reigning champ. He wants to defend his title.
Yeah. So it's like two worlds colliding. But before we get into all of that, like the philosophy, you know, and the backgrounds, let's just lay out the basics, you know?
Yeah.
So Fight Night's happening on October 19th in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And this is at a place called Mayadeen. And get this, they're fighting in a custom-built smart cage.
Oh, wow.
Pretty high-tech, right?
Yeah. Like, does that mean we're going to see more of this? I mean, in combat sports, you know, technology being used to enhance the viewing experience.
I think so. I mean, it's happening in all kinds of sports, so why not this?
Yeah.
But back to the fighters. You've got Francis Ngannou, 38 years old. Mm-hmm. He's from Cameroon, former UFC heavyweight champion.
Yeah.
But the story, the journey, that's the real story.
Yeah, his journey is incredible.
This guy, he started working in a sand quarry when he was 12 years old. And then he was in his mid-20s when he made this incredible, dangerous journey from Cameroon to France. Like we're talking crossing the Sahara Desert, crossing the Mediterranean Sea.
Wow.
He even ends up homeless in Paris for a time before finding his way to a gym and then discovering MMA.
Yeah, and, you know, he's actually said that his toughest opponent has always been himself, which is kind of not just like a tough guy quote, but it's really a statement about the internal battles that he's had to win. But then you have Renan Ferreira, you know, the current champ, and he's also got a story that kind of connects with people.
Yep.
Yeah.
Problemo, they call him. You know.
Problemo, yeah, great name.
Yeah.
He's 34 years old. He's from Brazil. And he's got this huge win over Ryan Bader, who's the Bellator champ.
Oh, yeah.
So right there, you know, we're dealing with a top-tier fighter.
Yeah.
And what I think is really cool about this is that Ferreira actually acknowledges the parallel journeys. You know, he's said before that they both came from, you know, humble beginnings, and it took an incredible career to get them to where they are now.
Right.
So it's like they both understand the struggle, the fight outside the fight, if you will.
Yeah. Okay, so we know that these guys have amazing personal stories. But let's look at the tail of the tape, as they call it. Let's look at the cold, hard stats. So for those who aren't familiar with that term, it's just a comparison of their fight records.
Exactly, yeah.
So Ngannou, what's he got?
Okay, so Ngannou's record, he's got 17 wins out of 20 fights.
Wow, that's good.
With 12 of those wins by knockout.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
12 knockouts.
That's power right there.
Yeah. So Ferreira, what's his record?
Okay, so Ferreira, his record is 13 wins out of 19 fights. And get this, he's got 11 knockouts.
So these guys are both powerhouses.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not even a question of if somebody's going to get knocked out. It's how they knock people out,
Yeah.
right? Like, what are their signature moves?
Well, I mean, Ngannou, for example, Ngannou's known for his uppercut. Brutal uppercut.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like a freight train coming up from the ground. And he's also been working on his boxing technique, which could add a whole new dimension to his game.
Which makes sense. I mean, he's got all that boxing experience now, right?
Exactly.
Facing guys like Fury and Joshua must have taught him a lot about, you know, footwork, head movement, and how to set up punches.
Absolutely. And that could be a huge advantage against Ferreira, who might not have faced that level of striking expertise before.
Wow. Okay. So Ngannou is bringing that evolved boxing style to the cage.
Yeah.
But what about Ferreira? What's his fighting style?
Ferreira, he's a Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt, which means he's very dangerous on the ground. You know, if he can take Ngannou down.
Yeah, that's a whole different ballgame when it goes to the ground, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If he can take him down, the fight could look very different.
So it's that classic striker versus grappler matchup.
Yeah, exactly.
Like Ngannou wants to keep it standing first, trying to get him on the ground.
Exactly. That's what makes this fight so exciting.
Okay.
It's not just about who hits harder. It's about who can control where the fight takes place.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
But haven't we seen Ngannou grappled before?
Yeah.
I mean, he's shown some grappling skills before, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for sure. He's not a one-dimensional fighter. He's shown good takedown defense, some grappling skills, but Ferreira's ground game is on another level.
Right.
So, Ngannou could definitely hold his own on the ground for a while. But Ferreira, he's going to be looking to wear him down and exploit any openings.
Okay, so we've got these two different approaches,
Mm-hmm.
and they're both potentially devastating, right?
Yeah.
So before we jump into like scenarios and predictions and all that, let's kind of unpack what each fighter is saying
Mm.
about their strategy.
Right. Because the mental game is just as important.
Oh, yeah.
What's their mindset? How are they approaching this mentally? This is where things get really interesting.
Yeah. I want to hear what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, Ngannou has actually said that he's not, gonna just rely on his knockout power this time.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. He's actually been quoted as saying that he's gonna fight strategically and according to, how the fight presents itself.
Wow, that's a big change from the Predator that we're used to seeing.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds like his time in the boxing world has really kind of shifted his approach, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think so. It makes you wonder if, facing guys like Fury and Joshua, who are masters of defense and counterpunching, if that forced him to kind of develop a more nuanced style.
Right, because you can't just go in there swinging for the fences,
Exactly. Yeah.
especially with those guys.
Right, right.
Wow. Okay, so maybe we'll see a more patient, calculated Ngannou in this fight.
Yeah.
Someone who's not just going for the knockout, but is also thinking a few steps ahead. But what about Ferreira?
Yeah.
What's he saying about his strategy?
Well, he's definitely not underestimating Ngannou's power. Um, he's acknowledged it, but he also seems confident in his own abilities. He's been quoted as saying, "We are both complete fighters. We can strike and we can grapple as well."
So he's not just, the ground specialist. He can stand up and trade punches as well.
Exactly. Exactly. And that's what makes this fight even more unpredictable.
Right.
I mean, we could see a stand-up war, a grappling clinic, or a mix of both. It really depends on who can dictate the terms of engagement.
Right. Okay, so let's play this out. Let's say Ngannou comes in, with that improved footwork, the head movement that you mentioned earlier. He avoids Ferreira's takedowns, keeps the fight standing. Could we see a knockout?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if Ngannou lands one of his signature power punches, like that devastating uppercut, it could be lights out for Ferreira.
Yeah. But on the flip side, what if Ferreira manages to get inside and gets a hold of Ngannou and takes him down?
Oh, then it's a completely different ballgame.
Yeah.
On the ground, Ferreira, he has the advantage. He can control Ngannou's movement, wear him down, and then potentially look for a submission.
And for those who aren't as familiar with MMA, a submission basically means forcing your opponent to tap out.
Right.
Whether it's by putting them in a painful joint lock or, a chokehold, something that cuts off their air supply.
Exactly. And Ferreira is a master of submissions. He's got the skills and the experience to finish a fight, on the ground.
So we've got, these two very different paths to victory.
Yeah.
It's like a strategic puzzle.
Yeah.
And they're both trying to solve it in real time.
Yeah.
But then there's, beyond the technical aspects, there's the mental game. There's all the pressure, the expectations, the weight of their personal stories.
Absolutely. And Ngannou's carrying, the burden of being a former UFC champ. He's trying to reclaim his throne. And then Ferreira, he's the underdog, the hungry champion who wants to prove himself against, a global icon.
Right.
So, that psychological battle could be just as important as, the physical one.
Yeah, it's easy to get caught up in the predictions, the technical breakdowns, all that. But, a lot of times it's the human element, right, that makes these fights so interesting to watch.
Oh, I completely agree. I mean, these are two guys who've overcome incredible odds,
Yeah.
just to get to this point. I mean, you think about Ngannou's journey, from a sand quarry to the top of the fighting world.
Yeah.
And Ferreira's rise through the ranks, in Brazilian jiu-jitsu. These are stories of resilience, determination, and the pursuit of excellence.
And it's a reminder that there's always more to the story than, what happens in the cage.
Oh, yeah.
It's the years of training, the sacrifices, the setbacks, the unwavering belief in yourself.
And all the people who supported them along the way, too.
Right.
Their coaches, their families, the fans who believed in their dream.
Yeah, so this fight is more than just a a sporting event, right?
For sure.
It's like a celebration of human potential, a
Yes,
testament to the power of the human spirit.
absolutely. A
Yeah.
global event, a spectacle, a clash of styles, personalities. But, at its core, it's really just a story about two individuals who are striving for greatness, you know, pushing themselves to the limit and inspiring other people along the way.
Okay, so we've covered the fighters, their stories, their fighting styles, the potential, paths to victory.
Yeah.
But there's this one more, um, element that makes this fight even more interesting.
Yeah.
The fact that it's happening in Saudi Arabia.
Right. And this is where things get really interesting,
Yeah.
because it's not just about two fighters.
Yeah.
It's about two worlds colliding. I mean, we're talking about the global landscape of combat sports. We're talking about the economics of these mega events and even the geopolitical implication.
Yeah, it's like this fight is almost a microcosm of, these larger trends that are happening in the world.
Right.
So to really understand the significance of this fight, I think we need to kind of zoom out,
Yeah.
look at the bigger picture.
Exactly. Because it's not just about who wins the belt.
Right.
It's about what this fight represents, the forces it brings together, and the questions it raises about the future of combat sports.
So before we even get into the financial stuff and the implications of it being in Saudi Arabia and all that,
Yeah.
let's just take a minute to really appreciate the magnitude of this event.
Yeah.
We're talking about two elite fighters
Yeah.
at the peak of their powers, battling it out on a global stage.
It's a spectacle,
Yeah.
a display of athleticism, skill, raw human emotion. It's a chance to witness something really special, something that transcends the boundaries of sport.
Yeah. And it's a reminder that in a world that's, filled with a lot of division and uncertainty,
Yeah.
there are still these moments that bring people together,
Oh, yeah.
that captivate our imaginations,
Yeah.
and remind us of all the incredible things that humans can do.
Beautifully said.
Oh, thanks.
Now, let's delve into the business side of this fight,
Yeah.
Because the financial stakes, they're just as high as the personal ones.
Yeah.
We've talked about their hearts, we've talked about their skull, but this is a big payday for both these guys.
Oh, yeah, for sure. There's a lot of money on the line, guaranteed purses, potential bonuses. But what I think is really interesting is all the money flowing around the event itself.
Yeah.
The PFL is making a statement by putting this on, right? This is a huge spectacle. And Saudi Arabia is reportedly investing a ton to host it.
Yeah, PFL wants to be a major force in MMA, right?
Right.
And these events, like this one, featuring global stars, I mean, this is key to their strategy. And for Saudi Arabia, it's part of this trend. I mean, they're pouring money into these major sporting events, from boxing to, Formula One races and everything in between.
Yeah, it's almost like they're trying to boost their image on the world stage,
Yeah.
attract tourism and investment. Some people call it sports washing.
It's a complex issue, a lot of different perspectives. But regardless of the politics, there's no denying the economic impact, right?
Right.
Hosting an event like this generates a lot of revenue, it creates jobs, and it puts Saudi Arabia on the map, for international audiences.
Yeah, it's fascinating. It's like sports and money and global politics are all mixed together in this.
Yeah.
But let's bring it back to the fight itself. We've analyzed the styles.
Yeah.
We've talked about all the narratives. What are you watching for? Like, what are the keys to victory for each of these fighters?
Well, for Ngannou, I'm looking at his footwork,
Oh,
his head movement early on. Did that boxing training actually translate to better defense?
right.
Can he avoid those big bombs from Ferreira?
Yeah.
And then for Ferreira, it's all about how aggressively he goes for those takedowns.
Okay.
I mean, if he can get Ngannou to the ground early, that changes the whole fight.
So those first couple minutes are crucial.
Oh, absolutely.
They set the tone, and tell us a lot about each fighter's game plan. It's like a chess match.
It is.
They're trying to anticipate each other's moves.
Yeah, and beyond strategy, there's the mental game. Who can handle the pressure?
Right.
Who can stay calm and focused when the punches start flying?
Well, both these guys, Ngannou and Ferreira, I mean, they've shown incredible resilience in their careers. They've faced adversity and come out on top. But this fight, this is on another level.
This is legacy defining.
Yeah, for sure. And that's what makes it so compelling. It's not about winning a belt. It's about, writing your name in the history books.
Absolutely.
So as we approach fight night, we're left with more questions than answers.
Yeah.
Will Ngannou return to MMA dominance?
Mm-hmm.
Will Ferreira prove he's the real deal? Will this fight live up to the hype?
Only time will tell. But, we know this fight has implications that extend far beyond the octagon. It's a story about personal journeys, global ambitions, and the power of combat sports.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so much more than just a fight. It's a story that resonates with, anyone who's faced a challenge, anyone who's chased a dream or pushed themselves to their limits.
To our listeners, as you watch this fight unfold, I really encourage you to, look beyond the punches, the takedowns. Pay attention to the stories, the emotions, the forces at play.
Yeah, because in the end, that's what makes this sport so interesting. It's a reflection of the human experience. All its complexity, the beauty, the raw power.
This has been a great deep dive.
Yeah.
We didn't just explore the fight, we explored the meaning, the questions it raises. It's been great.
And until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, keep diving deep.